I'm Don Kimmel, and it's my wife Jean. Two of our grandsons, Blake and Eddie, were killed by an impaired driver.
Blake and Eddie were two of the sharpest kids we'll probably ever see. Very alike and very different, I would say.
Yeah, Blake was our oldest. He was kind of the leader of the four boys.
I've known Blake since the 8th grade, and my first impression of him was that he was a great kid. We hit it off right away. You could tell he was just that type of guy that was always caring about others and not himself.
Blake and I were not very good at basketball. He out-hustled everybody, almost every play. He was that way at work too. It was just kind of annoying because he'd always outwork you. He was just loved by everybody. Blake would have a couple girls over cooking him dinner, just cooking him pizza. Like, what are you doing? Where do you find these people? He knows everybody. Everybody loved Blake.
One of the things he liked to do, even from when he was little, he had a $1 million smile, and he was always smiling, always laughing, loved to see people happy.
Blake had a special way of saying hi to me. It was a hey dad. It wasn't hi dad. It was hello dad. It was hey dad. And I miss that so much.
My name is Jan. It was my son. It was very friendly kid and a very kind, and plus that he had lots of sense of humor.
Yeah, Eddie did real well in high school. He was leading his class up until the senior year, I believe, and he got a dean scholarship from the college. He made the dean's list the second semester. First semester kind of caught him unawares, but he buckled down, and the second semester got on the dean's list. He's very proud of that.
One summer when they were little, we met up at Pizza Hut to celebrate summer birthdays. And then when Donnie and Eddie had to head home, Blake just crumpled up in his car and just sobbed his heart out because they were leaving and he would never see them again, and this and that. And it just seemed like kind of a special thing, special connection there.
Eddie was Blake's cousin, and Eddie had just finished his freshman year at Montana Tech in Butte. And he was in petroleum engineering, and he wanted to come down by the oil fields to try and get an internship or something along that line.
Being in a military family, Edmund traveled around a lot and didn't get to see his cousins that much. When they did, they really enjoyed spending time with each other, and that's why they were looking forward to this summer together so much.
So we knew we were going to have him all summer down here, which was awesome. The kids were reconnecting and making plans together and kind of forming a bond again. Both Blake and Eddie liked to ride motorcycle, and so they kept talking about going for a ride together, and Eddie on his bike, Blake on his, and it kept raining every night. They'd get home from work, it'd be raining. Finally, on June 6th, it was a beautiful day, and they got home and were able to go for that bike ride.
My name is Trooper Michael Walden. I'm with the North Dakota Highway Patrol. I was one of the first officers on scene involving Mr. Kimmel and Mr. Reynolds. We received a call about a reckless driver west of Trenton. While we were en route, we received an additional call in the same area about a head-on collision involving a van and 2 motorcycles.
Just this side of Trenton, about 15 minutes from home, they were hit head-on by a drunk driver passing a semi. And it threw Eddie off into the ditch on his side of the road, and it threw Blake over in the other lane in front of a semi. And he was then run over by the semi. And they were both killed.
Serena and I were one of the first responders on scene. I noticed there was a gentleman sitting in the ditch. I went over there with the jump kit, extra jump kit to assess him when I realized that there was another boy laying in the ditch. I yelled up, Serena came down, and At that time, I was not aware of who Josh Everett was. I did not know he was the van driver of the van that caused the accident. When I was trying to assess him and check him out, he kept looking over at Eddie and kept saying, "He's gone, he's gone." I looked over, I seen a couple of our other first responders that were there. They were with Blake. Blake was responding to them.
He was still talking to us. We had used all of our trauma dressings that we had in the ambulance to help him. I tried to keep him go home as much as I could.
There was messages on the machine for Mark trying to get a hold of us, so I called him. Halfway through the phone conversation, I told Gina that Eddie had got killed, and she collapsed on the floor. I finished talking to Mark. Gina had got up and tried to call Eddie's cell phone and said, "Call me."
I hate that Blake isn't here anymore. I hate seeing his brothers hurting without him.
I miss the time I had with Blake. I think a lot of Fairview and Bozeman and his family and his many friends all have an empty space in their heart.
Drinking and driving. It's not just your life. It affects everybody that loves you, your friends, your family. People that don't even know you, the people that respond to these accidents.
This is the only one that's never left. I relive it all the time.
The hardest thing is watching their folks have to deal with settling an estate for a teenager. This is not something you really expect, and it's something that as parents we can't help them with. And then to see what it's done for Dawn, or to Dawn, it just hurts.
I think what's been hardest for me is to accept the reality that the two boys are gone. And they were just starting out life.
We all make mistakes. We all make choices, and some of them end up deadly.
You know, as far as Everett goes, he's got a sentence that he gets to live with the rest of his life, knowing that he took two innocent lives. I think anybody with any kind of a conscience will have to live with that. That would be a tremendous punishment.
My name is Josh Everett. On June 6, 2013, I chose to get behind the wheel of my vehicle after drinking, and I took the lives of two young men. I didn't think I had enough alcohol to affect my judgment. The next thing I knew, my truck had rolled 4 times, and people came up to my van and told me that 2 young men had been hit on motorcycles. I saw one body dismembered beyond recognition, and one young man was just lying as if he was taking a nap. The next day I was charged with intoxicated manslaughter, 2 counts, and upon hearing that news I just fell to my knees and wept and prayed. I prayed for forgiveness, but I remember praying that they didn't have any family, because I've lost members of my family, and it's extremely difficult, especially when it's such a senseless way to go. People don't ever think it'll happen to them. And then it does.
We agreed to share our story of losing the boys in their accident to a drunk driver in hopes that maybe others will think before they get behind the wheel and not do that because of the devastation and the pain it causes to so many people. Maybe if Mr. Everett had seen something like this, maybe he would have thought before he drove and our boys would still be here.
It's hard to see that there could ever be good come out of such a tragedy, but I believe in my heart that there's going to be somebody that will hear this story and just say no, that it's not worth it. A cab ride might cost me money, but it might save a life, and that is why we're doing it.
I think if Blake was here right now, he'd be saying, good job. Go help somebody. I love you, but we'll see you again.